Howdy folks, this is BelGeode. We are back in Microsoft Flight Simulator, and this is a test, otherwise known as one of my chill vids. Alright, so what are we doing today? Well, first and foremost, welcome to Sim Update 12. Sim Update 12, of course, just released earlier this week. This is mid to late March right now, 2023. And it also included some updates for helicopters. But aside from that, CowanSim decided to also simultaneously release this bird. This is the venerable A-star. It is the Airbus Helicopters H-125, previously known as the AS-350, Alpha Sierra 350. I want to say B3, sometimes known as Écureuil, which I guess is French for squirrel, if I'm not too mistaken, and affectionately known as the A-star in the United States. Pretty popular helicopter. You see them all over. I see them flying over my house daily. The police have some, and a few other organizations. We're going to be using the, what is this, Royal Australian Navy livery, even though we are in New Zealand. And if you look around, you can see the airport that we're in. It'll be popping up below, lower right, to tell you where we're at. But yeah, really cool. So we're going to go glacier hunting today. So I loaded us up right here. Got a little bit of gas. We're about 75% fuel, roughly. And we're pretty much set to go. Now, I'm a little nervous here because the squirrel is a little squirrely. But that's normal. It's supposed to do that. It's supposed to be like that. So hopefully I'll be able to keep her under control long enough to get away from this hangar, which you can see. This is all default. Look at that. Everybody's in there. They're just chilling, doing their thing, doing their work and whatnot, not paying any attention to me, but that's fine. I'm okay with that. I love this. World Update 12 for New Zealand was amazing. It added so many features to little airports like this. It's so awesome. So yeah, we are going to hop into this bird right here. And we're going to take her for a flight. It's going to be a fairly long flight, but we'll see if we can do it in short time. Of course, before we do anything else, you know I always like to look at the various cameras. So we're in drone camera right now. And we're going to switch it to the static external cameras before we hop into the office. So here we go. All right, so this is our first camera, which is your standard behind a bird camera. Not much I can really say about that. It's kind of like a cross between a behind a bird and a BelGeode landing cam. Personally, I think it could be back a little bit further and up a little bit higher behind the tail rotor, but that's just me. Maybe I'll go through the camera's config file and send it over to CowanSim to update. But one thing I will say is I do like the textures. I do like all the various rivets and all of that stuff. I am noticing, and I don't know if this is OpenXR Toolkit causing it or perhaps just my Microsoft Flight Simulator settings, but I'm getting some strange visual artifacts that you're going to notice when the rotor is running and we're looking down through the rotors. But we'll get to that in a second here. Second view, as you can see, we are inside the Earth. Not exactly the best view here. I think this could definitely come up. I think I see what Cowan was going for so that you can see the lights and all the various stuff there, but I'm not a huge fan of this camera view, so I might change it. Third view, the infamous BelGeode landing cam, kind of offset a little bit so that it is underneath the pilot. I would prefer to have it like right here. That would be cooler, I think. But again, you know, stuff that I can change if I so desire. All right, now this is the view that I'm talking about. I love views like this where you're looking down through the rotor and you can see the world below you. And we're going to be using this one a fair amount when we get over the glaciers and whatnot. But the things that I'm noticing here is the way that the shading and the lighting works when you're looking through the rotor. It's not ideal, but I haven't yet isolated if it's Microsoft Flight Simulator's settings or if it is OpenXR, because I do have OpenXR toolkits running a little sharper than usual, because I notice when I put these videos up to YouTube, after the compression, it tends to get a little bit more blurry. So I figure if I over sharpen it, it may compensate, and then the finished video might be a little clearer. You'll have to tell me in the comments below if I was able to succeed in that. Of course, I will know before you do, because I got to edit this and upload it and watch it before you do. Then we have another camera. Cowan, what's the story on this? What's up with this? Why are we directly under the skid? I feel like I'm getting my head squished into the earth here. Yeah. No. That's all I can really say. And last but most certainly not least, we have this one. So you can't really tell exactly where we are, can you? So we're off to the port side, and we're a little bit behind. But I think it's a little too close to the helicopter. It could probably use going out like this, maybe angled like this, and back a little bit further. But again, stuff that I can change. But these are your default static camera views when you get this helicopter. So that's why I like to show them. All right, so we're going to go back to this one. We're going to keep it here for the time being, and we're going to hop into the office. Okay, so here we are, and we've got our lovely co-pilot, Fred. Fred, are you going gray? What's going on here, Fred? You're going gray, buddy. And it also appears that I'm a little too short, so I'm going to raise my head slightly, so there we go. All right, you can see the back seats there. It's a pretty Spartan cockpit as far as helicopter cockpits go. It's got very shiny leather seats, very shiny. I'm not sure if the real one is exactly like that, but yeah, it's okay. I'm okay with it. So there we go. You can see we got our collective here. Important note about the throttle on this collective. It is a click. It is not a rotary. So when you're going to go to idle or from idle to flight, you're going to click on it and it'll go from idle to flight. You really don't need to do anything else with it. Doors, as usual, can open, and I believe you can also remove the doors. There are a couple of switches here, or buttons here. Hide rotor, downwash dust effects, heat exhaust, blur effects, and so on and so forth. I don't know if like removing the doors and all that stuff is stuff that you can do. Wasn't able to locate it because there isn't really a manual. There's just a couple of checklists, but I'm sure all that stuff will be coming. And when it does, well, you'll be able to do all of that stuff, I would imagine. All right, but one thing we do need to do is start this bird. So we're going to pop up the nifty toolbar menu and we'll get our checklist going. Again, checklist, not much to it. We've only got 2 pages, pre-start and engine start. So provided we do everything correct here, we should be able to take off. So we'll go to the pre-start page for now. And we want to check everything off. So we'll try to do this relatively quickly here for you. Doors, closed and locked, done. Rotor brake lever, off. Okay, so this big lever here, this is your rotor brake lever. If it's forward, it's off. Make sure it's forward. Seat belts, adjust and lock, not a factor in flight sim. Battery switch on. Now your battery switch is the red guarded switch right here. Just flick it to the up position. And the avionics switch by default is on, so you'll notice that the Garmin's firing up, and we got this little guy here firing up, as well as all of our main instruments and whatnot. Control stick, free and correct. Okay, well, that's our cyclic here, so I'm going to go all the way forward, all the way backward, all the way left, all the way right. Everything's good. We'll try the collective. Collective full, collective down. We'll try the pedals, left pedals, right pedals. There appears to be an opposite thing going on here because I'm... Okay, well, no, that's actually correct. I stand corrected. Just corrected myself because I've got full right pedal here, and yes, the right pedal is all the way forward. Okay. Sorry about that. All right, so that's actually working fine. Landing lights are off. Landing light button or landing light indicator light is right here, so it'll tell you if it's on. All right, throttle check. So remember, with this throttle, you're going to go from idle to flight, to idle to flight. That's it. As far as I'm aware, I don't believe there is an off setting for this. It just starts in idle, which we can deal with. Fuel quantity check. That's the little pink line there. Like I said, we're just about 75% fuel, so we've got plenty for this trip. Flight instruments check. We'll make sure that everything looks like it is where it should be. Radar altitude is set to 200 feet. Everything is in the off position, basically. That all works. Altimeter check should be at 29.902. Yep, looks to be the case. Compass check working. It says we are pointing at a heading of roughly about 120, so slightly southeast. And that seems to track the HSI, which also says 120, so we're good. Annunciator panel test. Okay, so that is this little switch right here. Warning and lights test. Hold it down. Everything goes out. TV test pattern, and all the lights light up like a Christmas tree. You can see the landing light indicator there. So yes, all of that checks out. We even have a fire test here. So you'll notice on the panel it says engine fire. There we go. There it is. All right, so all of that works well. Fuel shutoff valve. Need to make sure it's open. Your fuel shutoff valve is this guy here. Emergency fuel cutoff. It is currently in the on position, so we don't have to do anything else with that. That is all fine. All right, rotor brake lever. Again, a reminder to make sure it's off. Yep, it's definitely off. Okay, we're done with that page, so let's go ahead and get her started here. Wingtip and strobe lights on. So that is the anti-collision switch here. So there we go, that is now on. And I don't believe we need to do anything with the others just yet. Make sure the area is clear. Yep, except for that hangar that's awfully close to where we're sitting here. Rotor brake lever off. Don't forget your rotor brake lever. Can't stress that enough. Throttle is closed. It's as close as it's going to be. And then we're going to start. Now, where it says throttle low idle when 12 N1, we really don't have to do anything because it's already in idle. So it'll do all of that automatically. But the starter is right up here. So we're going to flip that forward and guard it. Watch the gauges. That should do everything normally for us. So we'll make sure our rotors are spinning. You'll notice it's turning towards the right, so clockwise. Everything's coming up nicely. I like it. I like it. Yeah, buddy. All right. That works for me. Make sure the engine out light is off. It is. Very good. Oil temperature check. Oil pressure check. Temperature and pressure look normal. Go ahead and turn on our alternator, which is conveniently right next to our battery. So we want to flick it up. There we go. Alternator light should extinguish from here as well. Alright, flight instruments check. Flight instruments are still looking good. Everything's in the green. This is wonderful. And now we can pull the throttle to full. So to do that, we're just going to click it. And there we go. Very nice. Very nice. You see our little gauges going up there. Looking good. Looking great. I'm liking it. And that is everything on this page. So we are done with our startup. All right, let's go ahead and get the GPS ready to go. So we want to hit enter here. And then we want to hit enter again. Apparently I've got a message. So let's see what this message is. Set course to 269. Okay, I can do that. 269 is going to be this way. Now I'm actually using the mouse to do this. I do have knobs on the Verbal that can also do this, but I figure since I've already got my hand on the mouse, might as well do it that way. So what was it, 269 that we're looking for? Or 270 right there. And we can change our nav source. So you got nav 2, you got nav 1. And I'm actually going to hit our CDI button, so that'll change it from VLOC to GPS. Now, if I start to get a little bit turned around here, what I can do, you'll notice we also have this gauge here. This will always point to our GPS course. So this single arrow here that we've got. So that'll give us a pretty solid idea as to where we need to be. And the other thing that I want to set up on the GPS is if I go menu, and you see where it says data fields on, we're just going to scroll down. We're going to click on enter. There you go. So that'll tell us our current heading, what we should be heading for, and so on and so forth. And then up here for this little guy, I like to keep him on the actual flight plan so I know where the heck we're going. Okay. One thing I do notice, our transponder is currently squawking 1200, which I don't think it should if we are in New Zealand. I believe it should be on 7000. So there we go. I'll just change that. Alright, we also have searchlight, sling, mirror de-ice, COM1, NAV1, arm floats. I'm not sure if any of those are active. I want to say not, but if they are not, then they probably will be soon. Okay, the other things we want to set up is our horn. So there we go, and we'll probably also want to get our pitot heat on, so we'll go ahead and turn that on now. And just like that, we're ready to go, so let me contact the airport. I think this is on Unicom. Yes, NZTL traffic. Now we're going to tell them we're going to taxi and see which runway it tells us we're using.
November Zulu Tango Lima traffic helicopter November 70 Alpha Golf Bravo is taxiing to runway 29er.
Okay, perfect. So runway 29er technically is all the way down there. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. We're going to find where we can enter the runway, and we're going to hold short there, and we're just going to turn around and go out. There's no need for us to taxi all the way down the end there. That's just Okay, but now comes the fun part. We get to see what this helicopter has a tendency to do once you lift her up. So here we go. Collective is coming up slowly but surely. Trying to get her light on the skids here, and this is where the squirrely part comes in. You'll notice we've got the rotor downwash enabled, so that is looking and feeling good. There is going to be some translating tendency here. Okay, so it looks like we need to give a slight amount of right pedal. Well, a little too much right pedal, but that's okay. I'd rather not drift into the hangar here. Alright, there we go. And we're going to go around this way. Now, one thing I have noticed, you do tend to lose a little bit of FPS when we are in ground effect and you've got the rotor wash effect. I'm sure that'll be something that'll be optimized a little bit later, but for right now it's just something that we have to live with, especially in VR, since of course with VR we're a bit more conscious of FPS loss. But so far so good, not too shabby. A hover taxi here. You can see we've got that tendency to go right skid down. And there we are. We are right here. So I'm bringing the collective all the way back down. And we are going to contact the airport and tell them we are taking off, I guess west? Yeah, we're going to go west.
November Zulu Tango Lima traffic helicopter November 70 Alpha Golf Bravo taking off runway 29er departure to the west.
Okay, now comes the really fun part. So when we lift off, we're going to need to turn around and head off in that direction. And of course, we will cut to the outside view once we have lifted off. So let's get our landing lights on while we're at it here. So There we go. And we are ready. So no brakes down, throttles up this time. We're just going to head out. And let me set my clock really quick here. Always like to have it on local time. So it's 10:29 local. Okay, everything looks good. Fred, you feeling good about this? Fred's feeling good about this. So am I. So here we go, folks. Next stop, the air. Alright, a little bit too much pedal there, but that's alright. Let's get a little bit of forward speed. Now, as I move forward, I'm going to be doing the rotor trims. So we're going to trim the rotor forward and a little to the left to compensate for that translating tendency here. But first I need to make sure we're pointing in the right direction here. Okay, so once we take off, we need to go slightly left. But you can see the windsock says there's not much wind going on, so we're good to go. Alright, let's give her a little bit more collective, tip her forward, and get going. Okay, everything's looking good, so we're going to line ourselves up with our correct heading here. So we need to be tracking a little to the right. I do have a fair amount of right pedal in there, so I'm actually going to come off of the pedals and we'll start trimming her up properly here. You can see we've already got a fair amount of airspeed. We are just over 85 knots, and I'm going to trim those down. There we go. We're just over 3,300 feet. We still need to be a little bit more to the right. Now, I'm actually letting go of the cyclic just to see which way she wants to go, and then I'm using the rotor trim to get us a little bit more stable here. So as we're climbing and heading out, we're gaining some airspeed, and we're at least pointed in the correct direction for now. But yeah, look at this. Look at this. World Update 12. I gotta say, just flying around New Zealand in these last couple of weeks has been absolutely refreshing. You can tell that Asobo, Microsoft are actually learning as they go along. They're starting to do more and more with these scenery packages that they're putting together for the world updates. And it shows. It really is starting to show. Now, we have heard as of this week that World Update 13 is going to be Oceania, excuse me. Oceania, of course, is one of those areas that I love to fly. So if you saw the Fiji video that we did a couple of weeks back, that's a prime example right there. Fiji is a part of Oceania. Papua New Guinea, all of those areas that I really love to fly. All of that is coming in the next world update. So that is something to look forward to. Just checking my flight plan there, or flight path. Okay, so there should be some lakes coming up. And if you see up ahead, we've got some rather imposing mountains, and there's going to be some glaciers there. So that is the highlight of this video. We're going to be looking for the glaciers. I want to say it is Hooker Glacier, if I'm not too mistaken, that we're going to be trying to fly towards here. But since there is no autopilot in this bird, we are trying to manually course correct. So as long as I have my arrow pointed slightly to the left here, then I know that we are in fact heading in the correct direction. As far as pedal action, I've got no pedal action at all going on here. So I'm going to level us out at about 400, and how I'm doing that is I'm just adding more rotor trim to trim us forward here. I haven't moved the collective at all. I would say the collective's probably about 60 or 65% full. That's all we need, really. Alright, let me get our landing lights off. And we're going to contact the center. New Zealand Center, request flight following.
New Zealand Center helicopter November 70 Alpha Golf Bravo is type helicopter H-125 6 miles west of November Zulu Tango Lima 4,000 feet. Request flight following.
We're going to keep us around 4,000.
Helicopter November 70 Alpha Golf Bravo, New Zealand Center. Squawk 0073.
0073.
Squawk 007 helicopter Alpha Golf Bravo.
There it is.
Helicopter Alpha Golf Bravo radar contact 6 miles west of November Zulu Tango Lima 4,100 feet. Altimeter 29.902.
Roger, helicopter Alpha Golf Bravo.
Perfect. Perfect. Now, since this is the Squirrel, getting her perfectly trimmed out to where you can go hands-free is probably not a good idea. But if I let go of the cyclic, you can see what she wants to do, so I'm just trimming her forward again. And remember, we've left the collective alone, so we're pretty stable right now at about 90 knots, just a little bit over that. And we're staying roughly around 400 feet. But we do keep drifting a bit more to the left here, so I'm just adding some pedal. One thing I have noticed with this bird, I'm not sure if it translates to real life. Those of you who've flown this in real life can confirm for me. When we add pedal, it does tend to also add roll. So pedals are now centered, and you'll notice we're starting to pop back up to the vertical. But if I add more right pedal, you can see we're starting to roll again. So chime in the comments if you have real-world experience with this bird, and let me know if that is in fact normal for this helicopter. Not that I'm doubting Cowan, because Cowan usually does a lot of homework when it comes to creating these birds, but we just want to make sure for the rest of the viewing audience how quote-unquote realistic this actually is. Alright, so we've got our first airstrip coming up, and I did write that down, but obviously since I'm VR, I'll need to kind of lift up the headset so I can tell you what the name of it is. It is called Glen Tanner. That is the airstrip that we're coming to. And of course, you know, I'll have a little pop-up in the lower right corner once we reach to the airstrip, just to kind of tell you where we are. But it should be directly ahead of us, just past the shoreline there. So as long as we are heading in this direction, we should be good to go. So how about we go back to the outside view and take in this beautiful rugged countryside here that was obviously created by past glaciers. Okay, so we are fast approaching our first airport, and I'm thinking what we'll do is we'll actually just buzz the airport. Why not? We'll do some shenanigans here. I don't believe there's a tower here, but I'm sure it'll be fun nonetheless. So we're closing in on about 110 knots. I'm actually going to bring the collective down a fair bit, because obviously I don't want to go past that barber pole that you see there. But yeah, look at that. Let's hop back to the outside view so that way I can give you the name of the airport and the ICAO code. Alright, looking good, looking good. Okay, so we should be switching our waypoints now. I happen to know that we're going to need to make a right, so yep. Go ahead and make that turn now. And look at that up ahead. Ooh, what a glacier valley. That is awesome. Okay, so we need to be headed this way. Let's see. According to our directional gauge there, we're looking good. It says we should be on a heading of about 337. Is that right? Yeah, that looks to be about correct. Alright, and since this is a hands-on bird, I am definitely not going to adjust my OBS line, my course line. So we're just going to go with that. We'll assume that we're heading the right way. But look at this! Tell me this is not gorgeous, folks. That is thousands upon thousands upon thousands of years of just glaciers and rivers cutting through and finding their own path. This is downright gorgeous. Look at that. Let's look from the outside. I gotta say, the colors, the textures, the water and the interaction between the water and the land, and of course the reflection of the sun, that just makes this whole area. It is amazing. This is the natural beauty of the world, folks. Yeah, this is exactly the reason why Microsoft Flight Simulator was created. Aside from the fact that, well, it's a flight simulator, so you get to simulate flight. Being able to see the world such as it is in real time, this is really what makes this flight sim worth it. I don't care what anybody says. Yes, we all know that X-Plane has amazing flight dynamics, which, by the way, just between you and I, Microsoft Flight Simulator, at this point, as of Sim Update 12, is pretty dang close. Some of you may not want to admit it, but in terms of flight models, it's pretty dang close to X-Plane right now. There, I said it. But yeah, as far as the world itself, there's just no substitute for it. This is the best way to see the world. If you're never able to, you know, leave your home or leave your country and travel the world, this is clearly the next best thing. And especially in VR, where you really get that idea of scale. And I know it doesn't translate very well in video. That is the curse of doing VR videos. You can't really see the same depth perception that we're seeing when we're actually doing the recording. And I would hope that at some point in time that will change. But until more developers and you know, software and hardware pay more attention to VR, this is unfortunately the best that we can do. And there are a lot of us YouTubers out there, such as, you know, VR Flight Sim Guy, the VR Pilot, myself, you know, so many other people out there that are basically doing our best to, you know, portray to you what this world is like in VR. And folks, our words, our videos really don't do it justice. You got to experience it for yourself. It's just amazing. All right, but here is our second airport, and let's go outside and we will pop up the little name and ICAO thing. Alright, so welcome to Mount Cook Aerodrome, and it looks like we're going to need to hang a left, so here we go, watching the GPS, waiting for it to switch over, and there we go. Okay, so for our next trick, we're going to visit 2 lakes and a glacier. 2 lakes and a glacier, yep, you heard correctly. Alright, so we're going to start raising in altitude. So I'm actually going to move the collective now. I'm going to give us a little bit more collective. We're probably at about 65, 70% collective. And of course we need to compensate for that by trimming us either left, right, or forward, back. Whatever it feels like we need to do to get the helicopter to go the right way. So for the next few waypoints, they are actually points of interest. And the first one that we've got coming up is a lake. Let me check my notes. Mueller Lake. That is going to be the one that we are looking at directly ahead. You can see it past the streaks in my canopy glass here. So that is Mueller Lake. And then after that, we've got Hooker Lake and Hooker Glacier, which is really what we came here to see. But just look at that, though. Isn't that amazing? That is the planet we live on, folks. We pass the main branch of the river there. You can see all the various trees going up and down the mountainside. Now, it is not perfect. As I said in the first video that I did here in New Zealand, I believe that was with the, what was it? The BF-108 Typhoon. Not all of these satellite imagery, photogrammetry, whatever you want to call them, not all of these pictures are perfect. So you will notice as we get further into the higher portions of the mountain that things tend to warp a little bit. In fact, you can see it there. If you look there, fairly certain those mountains in the back don't look like that in real life. But the ones in front do look pretty accurate. But again, it's all stuff that Asobo, Microsoft are aware of, and they are getting better with it. So I'm sure as time goes on, whether we get a sim update or a world update, it'll also include world updates to all the previous stuff that's come out. Alright, so we need to go this way, and you can see that we already have Hooker Lake, and then beyond that you can see the start of the glacier. Look at that. I almost want to go down to the deck, but by the same token I want to make sure that we don't lose too much airspeed while we're doing that. But you know what? Yeah, let's do some shenanigans. Why not? Why not? Now that is awesome. That is the beginnings of Hooker Glacier. Now it shows our waypoint is a little further down. I want to say it's actually in the mountains, so we're going to need to give a fair amount of collective here. I'm going to pull us up to about 80% collective. We're going to continue heading this way with the caveat that we're probably going to need to swing out to the left because there's a pretty formidable peak directly ahead of us. And I don't want to lose too much forward airspeed, so I'm kind of tipping us forward just a bit. Trying to keep us roughly around 60-ish knots as we make this climb. You can see we're rising at about 500 feet per minute, so it's probably not going to be enough to clear the mountains, but that's fine. I just want to be able to get far enough that I can make the left turn here without worrying about running head-on into a glacier, which so far we seem to be doing good. Alright, so we need to swing out slightly left per the GPS. And I'm not entirely sure that they placed these waypoints exactly where they should have. Because it almost looks like this waypoint is literally inside the mountain, which is not the best. Not the best at all. Alright, let me get some more forward airspeed here, so we're going to tip the nose down a bit. You can see we're already at 5,000 feet. I would say that we should be good. We don't necessarily need to go as high as the peaks, because you'll see we've got a saddle ridge right there. More than likely I'm going to take that for our turn. When you're doing mountain flying, you always want to plan ahead as to, you know, how you're going to get out of there. You should be thinking, what is my plan B for getting out of a tough spot? Or maybe even a plan C, or possibly even a plan D, because you never know what's going to happen when you're doing mountain flying. Alright, let me get a little bit of right pedal here. I know that's going to put us slightly closer to this mountain here, but I kind of want to maintain my forward speed as we're climbing. I don't think we're going to get so high that we will need oxygen, because I don't believe oxygen's modeled in this. But with that having been said, we are certainly dropping in forward speed. And you can see, according to the GPS, we're kind of going away from our waypoint. So hold on, let me see where exactly it wants us to go for this waypoint. Aircraft indicators turning around, so it wants us to be in this direction? Seriously? This is where the head of the glacier is? You gotta be kidding me. Okay, well, we'll give it a shot. As you can see, we're losing a lot of forward airspeed. Yeah, I'm not sure how this is going to work, folks. Not sure how this is going to work, but I'm going to do what the GPS tells me it should do. It's flashing now, so it should be getting ready to switch over. And then we're going to make a very hard pedal turn to the left. But there you go. Enjoy the mountain while it lasts. That's just beautiful, though. I gotta say, that is absolutely beautiful. Okay, now we can make our turn, so yeah, here we go. We're going to aim for that saddle ridge that I was talking about, so it is now directly in front of us. We're going to go to the outside view, and we're going to see if we can cut through this saddle ridge here. Okay, so now you see exactly what I'm talking about when I say there are areas of improvement as far as some of these mountain textures go. For the most part, some of the lower mountains look great, but you can definitely tell there's like some stretching and so on and so forth when we get to the higher peaks. It doesn't quite match up. But I mean, overall, I would say probably about 90 or 95% of these mountain textures actually do look good, so I'm kind of okay with it. I'm not going to crucify Microsoft and Asobo too much on this, because you know they're trying. They're really trying. And they do have the habit of updating previous things that they've done in future updates, so I'll give them some points on that. Hopefully, if any of them are watching this video, it will, of course, point out some of the areas that they can improve, and we'll probably see that in the next update. So pretty cool. Pretty cool. All right, as you can see on our GPS, we're kind of far off from our course, but we are pointed in the right direction. I set us up with a waypoint close to that river. I want to say near the river bend that's directly in front of us behind these peaks here. Once we get to that, then we are going to make a hard right and come into our destination airport, which I will remind you is Fox Glacier. Had to lift up the headset there to tell you. Alright, so as you can see, we are right at the barber pole, so I'm going to pull the collective back a little bit here. I don't want to go much faster than this. We can do the shenanigans. We don't necessarily want to do the shenanigans, however. But again, huge kudos to CowanSim for pulling off this bird. I know this one is a favorite. This is one of my favorites on X-Plane, even though Cowan did not do that one. I believe that one was done by Dreamfoil. This is a pretty excellent rendition of the helicopter for Microsoft Flight Simulator. Only real complaints that I have with it are the cockpit does feel a little bit bigger than I think it ought to, but then I've never been in a real one of these, so one of you who has, you're going to have to chime in the comments and let me know how Cowan did on the scaling of this thing. But to me, it feels like it is a little bigger than it should be. And then the only other complaint that I have is out of all the liveries that we get, and you know Cowan is notorious for putting a crap ton of liveries in there. There's not a single purple one. Cowan, I thought you loved me, man. I thought you loved me. Where is my Belicopter? That's what I need. I need my Belicopter. See what you can do, please. I'm sure Sergio is probably watching and snickering because he actually created the Belicopter livery for me for X-Plane. So I don't know if he's going to want to do it now for Microsoft Flight Simulator, but you know, it is what it is. All right, let's go back to the outside view as we're making a fairly healthy descent here. We'll keep pointing in this direction because our waypoint is going to be near one of these rivers. I thought it was this one, but now I'm thinking it's actually that one over there. So we're going to point ourselves in that direction, go to the outside view, and we'll head for our waypoint. It had to be done, folks. It had to be done. I didn't want to announce it that I was going to do some shenanigans. I just wanted to kind of surprise you that I did. So there you go. Now you have at least flight simulator proof that you can do some ridiculous stunts with this helicopter. I want to say you can do that in real life, which is one of the reasons why I even pushed my luck with that. But obviously you would have to be a really skilled pilot and not a complete crazy man like I am to pull that off. But I hope you enjoyed that. I hope none of you lost your lunch. I know these VR recordings can get a little bit iffy as far as the image stabilization or shaking reduction, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, it's me. So you know some kind of shenanigans has to be done. Alright, let's swing around and we will head to our final destination for today, Fox Glacier. No more shenanigans, I promise. Gotta admit though, that was fun. Kinda want to do it again. Alright, so here we go. We are heading to our final destination, which I want to say is up there next to the mountain at the foothills. Let's see, how far do we have to go here? 4.3 nautical miles ahead. And we are pointing in the right direction, so I haven't heard from the tower in a while. I have not. Okay. Well, that's fine. We'll go ahead and cancel our flight following.
New Zealand Center Helicopter Alpha Golf Bravo. Cancel flight following.
Yeah.
Helicopter Alpha Golf Bravo New Zealand Center cancellation received. Squawk 7000. Frequency change approved.
Alright, sounds good. And we're going to go nearest airport list. Fox Glacier Aerodrome is what we're looking for, and I believe this is also Unicom 122.9. So we'll tune traffic, select a runway. We want runway 27 and full stop landing. And finally, announce position.
November Zulu Foxtrot Oscar, traffic helicopter, November 70 Alpha Golf, Bravo 3 miles west, 1,000 feet inbound to land runway 27.
They did say squawk 7,000, so I'm going to change it. Okay, there we go. Squawking 7,000. Let's go ahead and get those landing lights back on while I'm thinking about it. There we go. Alright, and I want to say that our airport is directly ahead of us, so I'm going to start pulling collective back here. Want to be around 60 knots, thereabouts. Now the other thing that I do want to do is I want to get rid of my force trim, so I'm going to hit the rotor trim release, and of course the nose is going to buck up. There it is. So immediately I'm putting in some forward cyclic to compensate, and of course I'm dropping my collective a little. Now I also have to put in some left cyclic, because remember this thing has that translating tendency. It wants to fly to the right hand side. But you can see our airport coming up, so once again we'll go to the outside view so I can show you the name and ICAO. Ah, look at that beautiful New Zealand countryside. Alright, so we've lost all of our forward momentum doing that little maneuver there, so I'm going to pitch our nose down. And I do happen to know that we're heading the wrong direction to come in, but I have a plan for that. This is one of those airports that actually turns into a road. There's really not much here, but you can see the beautiful community that it's right next to and services, as well as the impressive mountains off in the distance. But here's what we're going to do to come in, folks. So we are currently at 70 knots. I'm going to pull us down, check the windsock. Okay, we need to be pointed in the opposite direction. Here's how we're going to do that. We're going to do what is known as a pedal turn. So here we go. We're coming in. We're getting into ground effect hover. And I'm just going to kick the pedal in here. There we go. Alright, so now we're playing with pedals, collective, and cyclic to make sure that we stay where I would like us to stay. And we just need to pick a spot to land. That is it. So easy to fly this bird, and obviously, as you have seen, we can do shenanigans with it. I don't necessarily recommend it. This is one of those kids don't try this at home things. But with that having been said, this is where we want to be. So I am going to, you know what, I'm going to pull up to this little D, as I call it, because that's what it looks like from here. It looks like a D. We're going to drop it like it's hot. Right about there. Nice and easy, and voila. We're down. Let's get our parking or our landing lights off. So there you have it, folks. An absolutely amazing bird. Once again, CowanSim has knocked it out of the park. Are there areas of improvement? Most definitely, but you know CowanSim, he's going to be updating this thing as soon as possible, as well as the previous helicopters that he has released. Highly recommend you pick this up if you are a fan of the A-Star, aka the Squirrel. Definitely worth the money on this one. Yes, everything might look basic right now, but I'm pretty sure Cowan's got something up his sleeve to add more compelling features to this bird. But for right now, if you are interested in it, the link, of course, will be in the video description below. Fred, thank you for flying with me. I hope you didn't lose your lunch on that little shenanigans that I pulled back there. Otherwise, just to remind you, we are in Microsoft Flight Simulator Sim Update 12, which also contains World Update 12. And I'm going to sign off on this one. They done did good this time around. Performance in VR has been great. I don't know if it's translated well in video, but inside the headset, this feels smooth. This feels natural. I like it. Whatever you did this time around, Microsoft and Asobo, pat yourselves on the back. This was good. And with that having been said, I want to thank you for watching. This has been BelGeode. I've been flying in Microsoft Flight Simulator, Sim Update 12. And if you enjoy what you've seen, please feel free to give me a like. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so. Until next time, folks, I'll be back with some more shenanigans in the very near future. You all have an excellent day or night wherever you are, and I will talk to you all soon. Ciao!